All right, now I'm going to be turning it over to Jeffrey to talk more about our financial plan.
Dan, thank you very much. I will be going over our financial plan. My name is Jeffrey Santa. And before I really got into the deep dive of the workbook that we have agreed upon and talked about as a unit, I just want to say, welcome and thank you for listening to this presentation, to everybody in the BizLINK division, to Miss Erica Potter for her consistent help throughout these efforts of this plan, and to everyone at Learn Kernel. We really do appreciate you guys trusting your business model with us. This is just a presentation, a project that 3 MBA students put together in a 7 or 8 week class in the summer. And we put a lot of work into it. So we as a group, if we would have had, if we were a part of the business model, if we would have had, a 6-month project management, budget and plan, we can't even imagine how it would feel to actually be a part of this, to actually make decisions like this. And we just wanted to take a quick second to say that we appreciate you guys so much trusting your business model with us. And we hope that we're going to give you some good ideas. But before I begin here, I am going to share my screen to go to the model. Can everybody see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so when you open up the model, I do have screenshots on the presentation, but it really doesn't do the model justice solely from a usability standpoint. When you open up the model, which will be included in our submission, and I could get it to Dr. Kahai through an email, but when you open up the model, you land on this homepage. And we have 3 pages here: startup cost, initial revenue streams, and future revenue streams. So if you click on the big green top rectangle, this takes you to your startup costs and what we're calling year 0. So as talked about previously, especially Mackenzie hit on it, we want to go into the epicenter of India, into Bengaluru. So we are providing the team at BizLINK, the team at Learn Kernel, the best and biggest case scenario. Now, there's a little catch. If you do not like anything that you see in this model as far as financials, these are our suggestions. And you might be wondering, well, maybe none of this makes sense with where our business is, or where our 6-month plan is, where our 12-month plan is. But the model, the usability of the model makes everything, all the variables changeable within how you want to approach the model, whether you be, whether you're a baseline employee of the BizLINK operation or you're someone in the upper management. So here we have our building, our main HQ. A lot of this research was taken from Google, was taken from reputable sources that talked about business in India. So we were starting with a lot of estimations, but we had $20 an estimate amount per square foot. And we decided on a big 200,000 square foot unit. We want to start with a big headquarters. We want to do it big in the epicenter. If we could start this big, then it is only a matter of time before the profits start flowing. So it shows your down payment here of 20%, $800,000. You go to your principal, your number of years of your payments, 360, and your annual interest rate, with a hefty $23,000 estimated payment. And you might be saying, we don't have $23,000, in our budget to work with this every month. That's okay. Don't worry. If you want to change the estimated total building cost, say you don't need a $4 million building, say you just need a $2 million building. So if you put that in there, it'll auto populate all these cells for you. And you see that your estimated monthly payment has already reduced in half in accordance with your estimated building cost. I will revert all the changes I make in here in this presentation back to how we had it for submission. But I just want to make sure that you guys know how usable this spreadsheet really is and all the work that we put into it as a collective unit. Down here, we decided to go with an optimistic, big 15-person team. We have an estimated salary that we believe to be fair and that will get people on board with the project that want to come, they want to be a part of change, want to be a part of the big things that Learn Kernel is doing in different countries of the world. I mean, it doesn't get much cooler than that, actually, making a difference. So that's a pretty hefty cost, but similar figures here. If you want to go down to 8 employees, that changes your total cost. Maybe you only need 3 employees off the start. You could change everything around. And that leads me to the signing and relocation bonuses. That also changes when you change the number of employees. I have a $10,000 bonus amount per employee, and that auto populates to the total bonus cost, depending on what number you put in this B22 square. Same thing with the utility deposits. You might find, whoever you're working with in India might say it's only $1.90 for the utility cost per square foot. Just change that cell and your 2-month upfront deposit will auto populate. And like Dan was saying, here I have, the basic price of one Facebook ad. This is our advertising and promotion section. And then we have the desired amount of Facebook ads. So we advised the $139,000 or the 139,000 ads off the get-go. But maybe you wanted more than that. You see the cost is only, $1,000. Maybe you put 200,000, that'll auto populate all your total operating capital at the bottom. Nice little return to home page link down there. And we're into the initial revenue streams. Oh, okay, there we go. So we decided on 2 contract types for the initial revenue streams. We received this top line of data in both of the contracts right from Erica Potter. She thought that these would be fair prices for the units. And it stays on a very thematic trend of up here is less units in contract 1, less minimum hours for the content development and the consulting, which will be our second and third streams of revenue. And that comes out to what we projected to be around $48,000. Now down here, we have more minimum units, more minimum hours for the content development and the consulting, but the prices are a little bit lower on all 3 accounts. But that actually results in being the most expensive contract. So I'm going to keep harping on it. I might sound like a broken record, but we advise keeping the top row the same in both contracts, but you can have your own liberty with the second 2. You could change the minimum hours to whatever you're feeling and the price per hour. If you feel like that's under market value, you could raise that up in both circumstances. It'll automatically change your content revenue and the overall price of one contract will change. Now, transposing to the bottom here, I have a contract combination calculator, and this works in with the goals that Dan has set out. We've worked together on the goals for the company, and one of our main goals is to acquire 1 contract with an NGO every 6 months, resulting in 2 contracts a year minimum. So I have year 1, year 2, and year 3 projections down here. You can change these cells on the left side, these A33 and A34 cells. If the first NGO that BizLINK works with wants to get contract number 1, that'll auto populate whatever you have as total revenue up here. And let's say a different NGO comes along and they really love what they see in contract number 2. Maybe they're a little bit more established. They could pay the premium for the more hands-on work we're going to be giving to them. So they want the second contract. But let's say maybe you only get 2 number 1 contracts. So you want to change this number to whatever contracts you acquire. So you could have 2 1s, you could have 2 2s, and that will update your yearly revenue down here. Those 2 contracts automatically come over to the first 2 lines of year 2 and the first 2 lines of year 3 because they will already be secured. Then you see the second 2 contracts, which will give us the 4 contracts over the 24-month period. But, maybe business is going great in India and everybody wants the number 2 contract. Okay, so you just change all those numbers to 2 and your yearly revenue is updated. And the same way on your 3rd year of contract types. And last but not least, we're going to be talking about future revenues. Now, this is something that both Mackenzie and Dan have touched on, pertaining to where we are going to be in the region and what our plans are going to be once we get our primary business model down. After 3 years is our projection. So in our 4th year in the past, we will be diversifying our business model into solar panels, which you've already heard in this presentation. And this is what I like to call the BizLINK solar panel farm financial workbook sheet. Here I have the wattage price estimate per kilowatt in India monthly. So 1 kilowatt is $94.32. Obviously, that's transposed from the currency to USD, but that's a pretty good estimate. And down here, we have the build out of what the solar panel farm would look like. Now, most community solar panel farms are designated to be 100 kilowatts to about 5 megawatts, which 5 megawatts is definitely on the high end, and 100 kilowatts, it would be enough to power a small community. Definitely something that BizLINK would be working toward, that LearnKernel would be working toward. But I mean, how much better would it be if the main hub of BizLINK and LearnKernel is in a part of India, and then you have everybody in that city, in the epicenter, that lives in close proximity. They're using these devices consistently, and the solar panels are allowing the individuals, the citizens of India, to work around the threats that we talked about in the SWOT analysis of the weather. So if you want, we had 100 kilowatts desired here as an optimistic goal, the tip top of the goal for year 4. That's going to auto-populate your total monthly cost of kilowatts, your monthly revenue, and then eventually your monthly profit margin. And your profit margin will always stay the same in this portion of the spreadsheet, just because of how it incrementally moves up using the 94.32 USD. But maybe we only want to okay 50 kilowatts of desired solar panel use per month. You change your 100 to the 50, and that's going to auto-populate the 4 bolded cells for you here. And your monthly profit obviously comes down, but so does your total monthly cost. So there's a lot of flexibility with the spreadsheet that we wanted to present. Not only that we didn't know 100% of the financials, and we didn't know exactly the timeline of LearnKernel and BizLINK, but it was something that we wanted to make sure was incorporated into the presentation, that we could show that, hey, you guys can change this around, whoever it may be. If it's the CFO, if it's the board of directors, you guys could put in your own numbers. Now, as a conclusion, we decided that this, with our numbers, which will be uploaded with our presentation, these are numbers that we would not okay this project. If we were the project managers and we were, advising BizLINK in a real life world setting, we would not be okaying this project. The revenues with the model that we've put out are just not enough with the optimistic building costs and monthly or annual employment costs that we would be incurring. But everything could be scaled backwards from the model that we're giving you. And like I said, that's going to be the best case scenario. And if you want to go in and change things here and there and just work on certain variables, it's all totally possible in our financial workbook.
I appreciate it, Jeffrey. I'm going to go ahead and continue on with the presentation.
Yep. And then the next couple of slides are just going to be screenshots of what I already showed you. Just the 4 different slides here. All of the text on the right hand in the highlighted box, you will see in our paper presentation. We do have a financial analysis model in there that goes into each line item a little bit more with detail and distinctly. So if you want to change up just one line item, you know its purpose, you know what it's going to do to the rest of the spreadsheet. And then that's pretty much it for the financials. We're going to be talking about our final recommendations, Dan and I, and that'll be the 4th leg of the presentation.
Absolutely. So Jeffrey briefly touched on it, but we did set out goals for LearnKernel's BizLINK, what we need to achieve when we go to the country of India. The first being signing a contract with Sai NGO, as well as, the Give India Foundation. Second, the Give India Foundation, we need to get them to purchase 1,000 LearnKernel BizLINKs every 6 months. Third, we need to hire a field team in India, in addition to our distribution and production center, to establish quality CSR, customer service relationships with them.
And for number 4, we would like to sign a contract with one business NGO every 6 months, which I've already talked about with the second page, or the second sheet, the initial revenue stream sheet of the financial workbook. Obviously, like Dan said, Sai would be the primary target. That information was provided to us by Eric Potter and right from LearnKernel, so we're grateful for that. Number 5, expand into other arms of business, solar power, something that's already been touched on. And we truly think as a unit that Dan really set the stage for the BlackBerry and the iPhone. I think we can agree as a group and just in general, a lot of people could probably produce the unit. that provides the digital technology. I don't think that that's a big secret, but I don't know if they're thinking the step ahead where to create brand loyalty, to create customers that are returning to Learn Kernel, to BizLINK, having those solar panels right there, it pretty much guarantees that people are going to come back, because the level of usability, the chances that you're going to actually be able to use our devices when we, diversify into India, is we're going to have the highest usability percentage out of all the competing businesses that are going to be trying our same business model. And then number 6, unfortunate to say, we started with these goals: turn and keep a profit during a 3-year period, which is something that is still obtainable. The model, it could work out if you dial back some of the numbers. The optimistic, the tippity top of the mountain that we were trying to reach sadly did not turn a profit in the first 3 years, or even, year 2, year 3, and year 4. There was just too many expenses as far as the building and the employees, but that's really not that big of a worry. I think that that's easily our most optimistic goal. I know that profit is the name of the game, but that is something that could definitely be modified whenever.
Right, and we'd like to talk about as well how we're going to be achieving these goals. We briefly touched on a couple of these, but first, beginning about signing contracts specifically. How are we going to sit down with these non-government organizations and get them to sign on with Learn Kernel's BizLINK? Well, there's actually a great article by Forbes that was posted about the way the Indians do business, and the Indian people love learning more about how to grow others in an employment setting, right? People over profits was the underlying theme, according to Forbes. So we can certainly appeal to that way of conducting business when trying to sell Learn Kernel's BizLINK in a business meeting, saying, hey, what a great opportunity that your business NGO has to empower other people, right? And this is mutually beneficial for you too, because you can sell and distribute it as you please too. And this is a great way to continue to grow others, to continue to cultivate that economy that desperately needs cultivation, as Mackenzie briefly touched on. What a better way to do it? I can't think of one. This is also a great way to continue on with the UN sustainability goals, talking about what the UN wants between now and 2030. They want more education in the world, fair and simple. What a better way to discuss this in a business setting, saying, hey, the United Nations and Learn Kernel, our alliance are the exact same. Look, our fish are swimming in the same direction. Excellent. It's a great selling point. Also, hiring a field team, talking about having that establishing a customer service relationship with them. I actually used to work for a corporation that's motto was customer service equals resolution. And they're not wrong. We can certainly talk about how we can assist with NGO relationships and distribution better. But I think the underlying theme of having that devoted CSR team is the feedback that we can receive. Feedback is most effective when it's received immediately, right? So we can get that immediate feedback. Hey, these Learn Kernel BizLINKs, they're not working so well when it rains outside. They're not waterproof. Is there anything we can do about that? Wow, thank you so much for letting us know. Instead of waiting 5-6 months when we put a team on the, almost on a business trip almost, and then learning about this, well, now it's too late, and we won't be re-signing a contract with them. And this is certainly something that we'd like to develop in India after time. Certainly something that we'd like to get our boots on the ground with our hub of distribution and manufacturing, if you will, and then develop that CSR team. Unfortunately, right now, as Jeffrey talked through, the costs are they're too large to incur. Again, we can play around with the business model of maybe a smaller office, maybe less employees, and then maybe we can build a CSR team into that. But as of now, that's something that's going to need to be tabled for the first couple of years at least.
Right. And moving back into the solar power discussion, which I probably jumped the gun in my excitement, but that's probably our favorite part of this presentation is the solar power. We really do feel like that's a great idea. We feel like that is it's like a spider web almost of all these different avenues that Learn Kernel and BizLINK can explore. Obviously, its primary use would be the alternative sources of revenue, but it's one of those things where if we branch out into being able to use the solar powers for entertainment, with the connectivity power that Dan talked about, I mean, if people want to start entertainment businesses through the NGOs in India, then that's just a totally different avenue that could be explored just from the use of, we want to use different alternative sources of revenue, but that could branch into 2 or 3 different sources, or 2 or 3 more over here. And, it's almost like endless possibilities with the solar power, along with the aligned with improving quality of life, another thing that has been touched upon. And then the final turn and keep a profit of a 3-year period. We want to be around to stay, in all bold, letters, capital letters. That's really the motto of how we approached this presentation. I think that that's a part of it's a part of a situation where if we're distributing content that is business related, then we want to do whatever we can in our power to make sure that we don't look optically bad running the business. That doesn't put a lot of confidence in your customers if you're running a net loss every year, but you're like, hey, buy our business, what we teach for business. You have to, as a company, look the part and play the part if you're marketing and distributing and developing the part of being, a business that talks about business.
Thank you so much. My goodness. Awesome.
Thank
I guess
you.
give yourself a hand.